All right, so welcome back. I'm going to continue doing my book review on Think and Grow Rich. We're approaching the chapter of faith, right, which is the second keys to riches. And once again, I'm doing these things from a spiritual lens because this is a very spiritual book if you haven't figured it out already. So let's take faith out of this book and let's just talk about faith in spiritual context, right? Everything in life, from desires to your soul expanding, etc., it's gonna have to have faith in it. You would not want to expand if it didn't have the energy of faith, right? Everything is energy, right? From think about a mustard seed. Like, let's say you put a seed into the ground and you're trying to grow it. That seed knows that it's going to become a plant or whatever it is. It has no doubt, right? It has faith that it's going to be there. I'll give you a better example. Let's think about a caterpillar. Do you think that the caterpillar ever doubts that it's going to become a butterfly eventually? Right? Never, right? It's the most conscious thing ever, just like everything else but us. We have limitations, right? Our brains keep us contained in a way because it's their ego journey, right? But think about it this way. Plants, trees, etc., they know that they're going to go through cycles of winter and summer and all that stuff. Never once do they doubt that they're going to become who they are, right? Which is like a caterpillar or a blossoming tree or whatever it is. It's only the human being that doubts it because we're not as conscious as the tree, etc., right? So with that said, the book talks about Mahatma Gandhi. It talks about Gandhi as well. Gandhi had nothing, right? Gandhi had no money. Gandhi had no special looks. Gandhi didn't have the military with him, none of that stuff. But Gandhi had one thing. Gandhi had faith that he can inspire so many people to take action to gain independence. Okay, so without faith, nothing is possible. And I'll give you ideas from my life. What happened? When I was stuck in a job in the corporate environment, I lost a lot of faith a lot of times when I was trying to plan out how I wanted to escape this rat race. In my mind, I had a lot of issues, right? One of them was I kept on doubting myself. I'm like, man, I want this reality, but is this really possible for me? I had a lot of self-esteem issues in that regard because I thought that I didn't deserve that for whatever reason, right? You learn from your environment, right? And that environment, those environments that I was in is very, it had a lot of limitations, right? People had very narrow mindsets. It was a competitive type of environment in all those settings, right? Because everyone wanted a promotion or whatever it is, or the 10K increase or whatever it is. So I'd be in that environment, looking at that every day. And as a result, I became scarcity conscious, right? I didn't have a lot of faith in myself. I had a lot of limiting beliefs, which is at the opposite end, right? A lot of fear-based belief systems, etc., are, there's faith at the other end of the spectrum, and then there's fear-based belief systems at the other end of the system. It's fear, right? So, that's where I came from. As soon as I started to believe that I can do this, things just started to rapidly expand. I bought one house and then I bought another house and I bought another. It's just I was like, man, I'm tired of trying to plan things, that I just got to put things into action. If I didn't think that it was going to turn out, do you think I would have continued to take those actions? There's no way in hell I would have been able to do that, right? But the things that limited me from, the time frame that whatever the amount of time that it took me to, I think it took me 10 years of working class life to realize I didn't want to do it. I knew I didn't want to do it from the start, but it took me about 10 years to fully get out of that race, okay? So think about it. If my faith was really, really strong, I would have been able to do it in 1 year. I would have been able to do it in 6 months. But the thing that held me back was faith. It wasn't incompetence, right? I know now that I can learn anything quickly and efficiently. I knew that I'm not below standard in terms of IQ or anything like that. Once again, if you do believe that, then your beliefs will become reality to show you exactly what it is, right? This whole thing is a software program, right? There is the one God, one creator, and beneath it is the software that you're running, and the one creator is observing you through this whole orchestration of a software program. It's a big simulation for you, right? Based off your belief systems, this whole thing is going to be created for you, the environment, etc., right? And once again, everything's energy, and faith is a form of energy. So if you're continuously thinking that things are going to turn out well for you, that's how it's going to turn out. there's a lot of people in my life that I met, they have a lot of limiting beliefs. For some reason, they think that things are always going to turn out bad for them. And guess what? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like a dog wagging its tail. It's going to continuously go back and then see the same thing over and over again, right? Something's always chasing them, or whatever it is, or they're always losing money, because that's in their paradigm. That's what they believe to be true. They believe that getting money is difficult, or whatever it is, right? So that shows up over and over again. They don't have faith in themselves. Look at society, right? Look at this whole thing with COVID that's going on. COVID is one of those fantastic things where you go into the news, and all of a sudden the most fear-based belief systems come out at you. You know, the different variants, right? You see that going on. You see people opposing the vaccines or that are getting the vaccines, etc. So there's, you know, the government's trying to do certain things with the vaccine too. So like, it's a lot of fear-based thinking. And what happens when there's fear, people get crippled, right? They don't want to move forward, etc. And then, you know, the governments have a bit more power over you because they have they're orchestrating this whole fear-based belief systems, right? Whether they know it or not, that's what they're doing. The media is good for that. The media knows exactly how to tie into everyone's emotions, right? So if you believe that your world is doomed, if you don't have faith that in the next steps or whatever it is that you're going to take, there's going to be a positive end of the others at the other end of the spectrum, you're not going to get very far, right? Faith is the head chemist, as Napoleon Hill speaks about it. Okay, so he also talks about the way that you increase faith. Let's say you have very low faith within yourself and your abilities, etc. He talks about affirmations, positive affirmations. I do that all the time. I have certain affirmations that I repeat in the morning to myself, during the day, etc., to keep me on track. Because otherwise, your brain, you know, once again, it's the ego. It's meant to limit you. It's always going to come back with, you know, thoughts of you being inadequate, etc., and then you have to push it back into your mind that you are adequate, that you are going to obtain your goals, etc. And if you keep on doing that, faith just comes naturally. It's repetition, new neural connections, right, in your brain. And through repetition, that's how reality, once again, is going to show up, right? So, you know, thoughts are things, and then basically when you think thoughts, your brain just expands based on those thoughts, off of vibrations, etc. And then you'll get new neural connections based off of that. If you have repetitive thoughts of doom and gloom, that's exactly what's going to come up. Your brain is a conduit. Your brain's going to receive transmissions based off of those thoughts, and then lo and behold, your subconscious mind is giving that to you, and then your reality is going to be created, right? Like, when I started looking into the stuff, I didn't even believe it at the start, but now it's just like, man, this is how reality works. You know, there's no way that it's another way. Because I always look for the ultimate fundamental truth, and I'll be doing other books as well, and then you guys will start to understand that everything is energy. Every single thing in this life is energy. Vibrations at the core. Okay? So you got to think, what are your dominant forces, right? Are your dominant forces within your mind thoughts of positivity, of growth, of abundance, or are your dominant thoughts in anxiety? Do you fear that you won't be able to get your next paycheck? Do you fear that someone is going to come and get you? Like, I don't know what it is that you're going on personally, but, you know, or do you believe that you're fat or you're ugly or whatever it is, right? If that's the belief systems that you're going to carry around in your mind, guess what's going to happen? That's what's going to show up. So you got to be observing your thoughts at all time, and then, you know, take out a piece of paper and write down. I do this even today. I do this. I have a positive section and a negative section. Every day as I'm working, I have a positive section on one and negative section on the other, and I write down a thought that comes up and categorize them individually if they belong in those sections. I'm just trying to catch my thoughts, right? Because through your subconscious, you're gonna be obtaining all these thoughts that are gonna be holding you back, right? And you just have to catch your limiting beliefs. And when you do these, you're gonna be catching them really quickly. Okay, so the ether, he talks about the ether as well. Ether is the one substance. That's how I classify it. It contains both positive and negative energy forms, right? It's up to you as the brains, as the receiver. You're supposed to be able to listen in on which thoughts are coming towards you, and then based off of law of attraction, invite more of those thoughts to you. Depends on what your dominated vibration is. You know, if you're based off your dominant positive thoughts, more positive thoughts will come to you. Based off your negative thoughts, more negative thoughts will come to you. That's how it works. Okay? So, and then he goes on to describe something about the greatest weakness of men. Most of men and women, and that's what he meant, is that they lack self-confidence. Okay, so that's pretty profound, right? Like, and he gives a self-confidence formula as well. You can look that up. Maybe I might do a different section on that later. But I lacked self-confidence for the longest time, right? Like growing up, I don't know where I got it from. I think it was in like grade 5. In grade 5, I got beat up by a girl. Okay, so you can laugh. But when that happened to me, I lost a lot of self-confidence because a lot of kids would make fun of me, right? And I had a lot of issues, like when I was growing up, you know, we were brought up in fear. We had to fear certain people, etc. And then it wasn't the best way. So that took a toll on my self-confidence. Okay, so where am I trying to get at? So if you lack self-confidence, repetition, taking action, by the way, will make you gain more confidence within yourself. A lot of people have fear-based belief system and then they stop and they don't do anything. Their whole lives is just orchestrated by going to a job that they hate, etc., and doing activities that they don't like, and then, you know, passing away at the end of the day because they let fear grab them, right? And if they don't have that self-confidence to push through these things, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to them except for the known that they know. Like, they know. When I say the known and the unknown, when I say the unknown, it's your future that is going to come towards you based off of your belief systems, etc. When I say the known, it's the current state of vibration that you have. So it's up to you to figure out if you have lack of self-confidence. If you're not taking action on certain things or seeing things to completion, that means you have lack of self-confidence in your abilities and you lack faith, right? So yeah, it's important to manage those things. It's important to manage your belief systems around everything that you do. If you don't have faith, you're definitely not going to propel yourself to the next step. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. This is Faith, and San Vivek signing out. Speak to you guys later.